And that will do it for us today. I'm Chris Stewart. Denver 7 News at 5 starts right now.
I looked out the back window and it was a lake.
Water pouring in, destroying homes after a water main break takes over a Denver neighborhood.
It just sounded like a river.
Now that the water's starting to drain, homeowners assess the damage.
I'm still kind of in shock. I don't even know where I'm going to live.
Your state tax refund is coming a little earlier this year.
Rather than sit on this money, we know that $400 will help people now.
We'll let you know if you qualify for the check.
And a racially charged remark now has more than 100 people calling for the director of Colorado Parks and Wildlife to be fired.
He said, there she is in the back of the bus. That was kind of just like the icing on a very toxic cake.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Jacqueline Allen.
I'm Shannon Ogden. Glad you're with us tonight. First at 5, another government check is coming this summer.
This one is not a stimulus payment, though. It's technically a refund on money you have already paid.
Denver 7 politics reporter Megan Lopez explains how much you could get, who qualifies, and the controversy surrounding the timing.
Colorado's tax system is determined in large part by the Colorado Taxpayer Bill of Rights, or TABOR. Basically, it limits the amount of revenue the government can spend each year based on the population and inflation numbers. Now, anytime the state collects more than that amount, they have to give it back to the taxpayers. This year, Colorado's economy was better than expected, hence the return. There's a few ways normally that the government can give that money back. They can offer temporary income tax cuts or property tax relief or even sales tax rebates. But none of that is as big or as flashy as a check. So today, the governor and Democrats held a big press conference to announce their plan.
This summer, every Colorado taxpayer will get $400, joint filers $800.
Now, normally that money wouldn't come back this quickly, but Governor Polis says that with inflation, people need that cash in their pockets right now.
We know that this last year has been difficult. Rising prices, gas at $4 a gallon, groceries costing more. Instead of government sitting on the money, we want to make sure we get it back to people.
Republicans we spoke with say that return is great, but it is not the result of one political party's actions, and they argue that Democrats have put a lot of fees in place in recent years that have hurt families.
Last year alone, there were fees on air, there were fees on plastics, there were fees on transportation, and now all of a sudden, because politically it's getting a little bit hot, they want to give money back. The reality is it's almost laughable. It's so politically transparent.
So they would rather see people keep that money along the way instead of being refunded. But anytime there's something political that's being discussed these days, you have to keep in mind that there is a big election this year. So even with this refund,
it really provides an opportunity for elected officials to really take credit for something that they didn't have a whole lot to do, and in the case of Tabor, particularly.
In fact, two of the people who attended Monday's press conference penned an op-ed last year in the Denver Post saying that Tabor stunted Colorado's progress and writing, quote, "This coming year, taxpayers will see rebate checks, but those will come at the expense of better funding for public services that reduce costs for all of us." Political or not, though, people will start to see those $400 checks in the mail in August or September. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
And we have received multiple comments about these new checks over on our Denver 7 Facebook page.
And some are happy to get the summertime boost. Others want the money to go somewhere else, like Kate, who writes, "This money should be put toward increasing teacher salaries." And Russ, who wants the money to go toward road improvements instead.
Right now, we are giving you a live look at the governor's mansion, where he's just about to sign a bill approving the state budget for the 2022-23 fiscal year. The state has allocated $36.4 billion for the budget. That includes funds for health care, public safety, and higher ed. Also, more than $7 billion of the budget is slated to help K-12 schools. That's a 12% increase from last year.
It's now the law. Congratulations.
Today, the governor also signed a bill ensuring universal pre-K for Colorado families. Now, this will allow access to 10 free hours of preschool each week starting next year. It's expected to save families $4,300 each year. The measure also establishes the Early Childhood Education Department to oversee it all. And tonight, we're going to go in depth on the new universal pre-K option in Colorado. You can watch that on Denver 7 News at 10.
A Colorado Parks and Wildlife employee says she was the target of a racist comment made by a department leader. Denver 7's Micah Smith joins us live. And Micah, these comments were allegedly made at a recent conference.
Jacqueline, the employee, says this happened about a week ago in Vail, Colorado. She says she's afraid of what may happen to her career after speaking out, but she says she's more afraid of what may happen by not addressing what she calls this traumatic incident. Colorado Parks and Wildlife statewide partnership coordinator Alo Lee spent months planning the 9th annual CPW Partners in the Outdoors Conference.
The 2022 Partners Conference is the most diverse it's ever been.
But Lee says on the last night of the conference, instead of celebrating that diversity, she experienced racism from CPW's director and Governor Polis appointee, Dan Prenslow.
He got on stage in front of 600 people, and in an attempt to thank me and pointing out my position in the room, he said, "There she is in the back of the bus, Alo."
The alleged comment has links to the civil rights movement. In the 1950s and 60s in southern states, Black Americans were forced to sit in the back of public buses and give up their seats to white riders.
This is racist. I was flooded with emails and texts of support.
The entire room, the air was lifted.
Dominic Lucero, executive director of Colorado High Country Educational Trek, says he witnessed the incident.
It's very appalling and very heartbreaking. We call for the firing of Dan Prenslow.
More than 100 people agree and sign this letter demanding Prenslow be fired. Lee says Prenslow did apologize the next day, and we obtained video of that apology.
I come to you to personally apologize to Alo, talked to last night. I have quickly learned how my words hurt her and others in ways I've never imagined.
Lee says she does not think the apology was sincere.
That was completely obnoxious, and I wasn't there.
We received this statement from the Colorado Department of Natural Resources, which reads in part, DNR has commenced a fact-finding investigation to better understand what occurred and to help inform any future personnel or department actions.
I love CPW, but I will say there are numerous complaints about injustices happening within Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
And Lee says because she loves CPW, she can no longer be silent about the discrimination some employees are facing. Again, Dan Prenslow is a Governor Polis appointee, and right before this live report, I received a statement from Governor Polis's office, which reads, the Governor Supports Director Gibbs initiated investigation, and as this is ongoing, we do not have any further comment at this time. We also expect to receive a statement from the Black Democratic Legislative Caucus later tonight. Reporting live in Denver, Micah Smith, Denver 7.
Thank you, Micah. Restoration crews have been out all day in Denver's Berkeley neighborhood. Look at this. They've been cleaning up after this water main break Sunday morning flooded the road and multiple homes, left behind a muddy mess. Denver 7's Patrick Perez is at that neighborhood live where the cleanup continues.
And Patrick, neighbors tell you this could take weeks to get everything there cleared out.
It really can, Shannon. I mean, some of these basements are a complete disaster. If you got lucky, you only got only a few inches of water in your basement, but some of them were completely underwater, and they worry what this is going to do long term to their homes. This is what the inside of Josh and Aaron Maitland's basement looks like. Broken glass, debris, and a ton of mud. Not just on the ground, but even on the ceiling, showing just how high the water got the day before. First met with the couple Sunday afternoon before they realized the disaster they'd be left with following a main break in Denver's Berkeley neighborhood that had water flowing for hours.
We just tried moving stuff up from the basement, just try to save what we could.
They were too tired to talk on camera Monday, but other homeowners were ready to share their frustration and exhaustion.
And so it's hard for me to think about having to go back to work tomorrow and when I don't even know where I'm going to live.
Stacey Bramer watched in disbelief as water poured into her basement. At one point, her front lawn looked like lakefront property.
I think some of it came through the ground and then some of it came through this door.
She worries what all of this will do to her home of nearly 2 decades.
I think the floors are ruined completely from underneath. And there's no point in replacing the floors if the foundation is ruined too, because it was an unfinished basement and a lot of dirt, a lot was coming out.
On Perry Street, where the main break happened, crews were hard at work Monday making repairs. It may take days before they're out of here.
I don't know when the last time that we had something like this is because of the magnitude. It's rare, to be honest with you.
Just down the street, Rose Gonzalez watched as her pickup truck, which won't turn on, got towed to give crews more room to clean up the several feet of mud.
Our crawl space is completely flooded. They're trying to get all the water out now. The carpet's destroyed, probably the hardwood flooring.
She, like others, is banking on Denver Water picking up the tab. So far, that hasn't been asking too much.
You know, everybody's going to say pass the buck, but no, they're really good so far.
So a spokesperson for Denver Water tells me that they still don't know what exactly caused this water main break. It could have been the pipe's age, maybe temperatures, what this pipe was made of. The pipe, by the way, was about 100 years old plus. We do know that these crews are walking around handing out these brochures to homeowners to let them know that they will essentially cover all of the water mitigation work that will need to be done, and they'll even pay for the deductible for those whose cars were badly damaged because of all this water. Shannon.
What a mess. Patrick Perez, thank you very much for that. Eastbound lanes at East Colfax are still closed between Victor and Ursula. In Aurora, a concrete truck hit the underside of the pedestrian bridge early this morning. The driver just had minor injuries, and thankfully nobody was on the bridge when it was hit. And police are not sure when the eastbound lanes will reopen.
What a glorious sight to see.
Good. Russell Wilson makes his debut in a Broncos uniform for the team's voluntary minicamp.
I came here to win. That's our mindset. And so whatever it takes to do that, we're going to do.
Still a bit cool today, but we have 70s and even 80s coming up in the 7-day.
Plus, Elon Musk is officially buying Twitter and shaking up the company.
And a baby with a 1% chance of survival gets life-saving surgery here in Colorado.
You gotta just keep going and don't give up. Don't give up hope.